Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, and it's my pleasure tonight to head north of Portland. And I always, Christy's not going to join us tonight because it's a little bit late for her. Kind of a running joke between the two, between Christy and I. But it's always nice to talk to some fellow Disney Cruise Line, DVC, Disney World fans that are out here on the West Coast. I'd like to welcome to the show Brian and Sam up in the Seattle area. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good.
Yeah, really good.
It's good to see some other West Coasters that have to make that trek across the country to get on the cruise line. And we're going to find out a little bit of some of the cruises you guys have done. I don't know. Have you guys done anything on the Wonder on the West Coast yet?
Yeah, we did one of the Baja cruises out of San Diego on the Wonder.
Yeah, we did a 5-night, not very scary, but
Halloween on the High Seas.
Halloween on the High Seas, yeah.
Okay, but generally, we're kind of stuck in that same boat where we got to make that trek across the country, so it's always good to have some fellow Disney fans out here on the West Coast to head that way. Well, before we jump into it, you guys have kind of really gotten the cruise line bug. We were kind of going back and forth, Brian and I, before, at least the Disney Cruise Line, and it sounds like you guys have cruised with some other cruise lines before as well. But you guys are coming up this summer. It'll be your 5th cruise in a year and a half. That's amazing.
Yeah, we have one person to thank for that, which is a high school friend of Sam's who worked for Disney for quite a while and then actually worked for Carnival Cruise Lines for a while. And I think it was my 40th birthday in January, a year and a half ago now. Yep. We wanted to do a cruise, and so I called him up and I basically said, "Want to do a cruise? Who should we go with?" And he was like, "Disney, hands down."
And this was a cruise without our son. Yeah. So our first Disney cruise was actually without our son.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, he would know. It sounds like you worked for Disney and then also Carnival as well. So steered you guys in a good direction. I kind of went the same way too. I'll be completely honest. I kind of went kicking and screaming. I wasn't really super excited about cruising. My wife and I went with some friends over on Norwegian out of Venice over the Mediterranean, and the two of us just fell in love with it, and we haven't looked back since, and it sounds like you guys have done the same thing.
Yeah, we had gone on a couple of celebrity cruises with Brian's parents. One was like 10 years ago, and one was about 8 years ago, so before we had our son. And we really enjoyed cruising in general, but we hadn't done any cruises since those 2 celebrity cruises. Brian had done a few before those with his parents, but those were my first 2 cruises ever.
They were a good first 2 too, because one of them was the Panama Canal. It was like 14 nights or something. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was an amazing cruise. But yeah, we just I think it was because the cruises we've done with them, the age demographic kind of skewed toward the
older
upper end, and so we just never really thought of it as something that folks our age would do. And so
yeah, I mean, it was fun to do with his parents, and we did a lot of dining at the specialty restaurant that was on the ship, so that was really nice. But it was, I think we didn't really think of doing it on our own, and we certainly, I don't think now on reflection, would do celebrity with our son. Just would not be a good fit.
Mainly for the age demographic, you think?
Yeah, it just didn't, there weren't a lot of, well, I guess it's hard to say because we did 2 14-night cruises, so those skew older to begin with. But, it just definitely seemed like those were not as attractive to young families. And so there weren't a lot of kids. There weren't a lot of people even in their, 30s or early 40s. We're talking most of the cruise was geriatric. There was really good food and really good service, so that was nice, but the entertainment wasn't there, except for maybe the casino if you're into that.
We kind of went the same way. We did the first cruise with Norwegian, and then that was just my wife and I with our friends, and then my parents had wanted to go to Alaska. And for the airline I work with, I spent a lot of time at Alaska, Anchorage, and my wife also works for the same company. And so Alaska, just like the Panama Canal, tends to be generally a little bit old. I think it's changing. Alaska is becoming such a huge destination. Not that it wasn't before, but so many people are going up there. But it tended to be a pretty older crowd, and my wife was just adamant not to take it. Our kids were 4 and 7 or 4 and 8 at the time. She's like, I'm not taking my 4-year-old and having him scream at dinner and ruin somebody's dream vacation. So
yeah, we haven't done Alaska yet. But we both really want to do Alaska, but we feel like we should wait until our son's a little bit older, because a lot of the excursions for Alaska seem to be, skew a little bit older. He doesn't need to be a teenager, but maybe like 8 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah, definitely, some of the more adventuresome stuff. But so Alex, our youngest, was 4, and he did like sled dog puppies and went gold panning, and he went on a helicopter ride with us. So
wow.
You can do some stuff with the younger kids, but I would say, younger than 4, probably not, because you're probably not going to be able to do as much. But that 4 or 5 is definitely a spot where you could start, I think.
Yeah, it's hard not to living in Seattle. It's a short trip up to Vancouver, which it's a horrible city to visit. It's so
twist my arm, right?
Yeah. So so we'd love to go up to Vancouver and then to be like, we could board a Disney ship and head for Alaska. We were actually trying to get on the cruise that was going from Hawaii to Alaska this year, and sold out in a half of a second to platinum members. But yeah.
Oh, geez, yeah, that was gone, and nothing has shown up since on that one. So. Well, we were talking a little bit beforehand. Not only are you guys Disney Cruise Line fans, but you guys are kind of all in. You're with DVC as well and going to the parks. What is it about Disney that's kind of attracted you guys?
Sam's friend actually is the one who kind of it's two things. One is, I think the attention to detail that Disney has, and so he would walk us around the ship and show us all of these details, or these he'd point out the lifeboats and say, "Do you notice that our lifeboats are yellow and the other lifeboats are orange? Do you know why that is? Because orange isn't in Mickey's color scheme. Or you see all the lines on the boat are Mickey yellow, while the lines on the other ships aren't. You see how clean our boat is, and." He just kind of kept pointing out, it sticks with you. There's just this attention to detail, and then beyond that, it's just a service. It's just you when you step on the boat from that first moment, and people are saying your name and clapping for your family, and everything's just it's always such a high level of service, and it's those two little touches I think that just really sell it for me. And I actually think there's one other thing, which is it's amazing. On the celebrity cruises I went on, it was pre-Facebook, I suppose, but I didn't feel like there was a cruise group that was dedicated and getting together and talking about their cruise and trying to make friends before they even got on the ship and
planning different activities and all that kind of stuff.
It's just such a community of people, it feels like. So it's just nice to kind of have that shared community, and also then be in a place where we feel like our son is going to have a great time. He's going to be safe. They're going to take care of him. Actually, one of the best stories we have on this is from our last cruise. We had the same dining staff a couple times and requested them on the last cruise. And Pete from Jamaica, if you get a chance, he's great. My son we had early seating, but he was pretty tired from the day. And they had set this wine bucket right next to him, which I should have thought that's a terrible idea, but okay, it's there. And he knocked it over right onto this other table's this guy's expensive looking camera sitting on the floor. And we were just sitting there horrified. Our son is embarrassed. This other family's trying to figure out what's going on. And it took all of maybe 5 seconds for just everybody's wait staff to descend on the table. And our waiter is there and he's trying to make us feel it's okay. They'll be taken care of. The kids are always right on the boat, don't worry about it. And the other team's wait staff is there, helping them get it sorted out and having them fill out some paperwork. I guarantee that, Disney took care of that family, and then at the same time took care of our family and made it feel like it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Don't let this ruin your vacation kind of thing. And it's that kind of moment that I just feel like is so important.
Yeah. For me, I would say though, it's there's the Disney magic. Right. Yeah. There's the characters that are just walking around the ship late at night. So you can get a hug from, Pluto, and just, it makes you feel like you're a kid again. And I just kind of love that Disney magic. And you get that in the parks too. The cruise just does it at a level that's, I don't know, just incredible, because you don't have the same, crowds as you do in the park, and it's just everywhere.
So did you guys go to the parks before you started cruising a year and a half? As growing up and stuff, did you guys spend time at Walt Disney World or Disneyland?
Yeah, so I grew up on the East Coast, and so I had gone to Disneyland actually once when I was really little because my grandparents lived in San Diego, so they were West Coasters. But I had gone to Disney World several times as a kid from the East Coast, but hadn't been in years actually until pretty recently. And Brian grew up on the West Coast, or went to high school on the West Coast, and so he went to Disneyland a bunch.
Well, we went to, when I was a little kid, we used to go to Disney World for Christmas. It was like one of my mom's favorite things to do. So we stayed at the Polynesian, we stayed at the Grand Floridian, and we stayed at my dad said we stayed at the Contemporary. I don't remember that, but he claims we stayed at the Contemporary. I know they love to stay on the monorail. Like that became like a thing, like we need to be on the monorail. No place but the monorail. I remember at least twice that we went for Christmas, but my dad sort of saying that we went more than that. And then when I was in high school, I went to high school in Orange County, California, and in the summer on the weekends, get that California resident rate. It was like, I don't remember what it was, but I think it was like below $20 for us to get into the park for an afternoon, and we would just go up and spend a day in the park. So
yeah, my wife kind of grew up like that too. She remembers being dropped off with her, like one of her best friends, and they would just run around the park when she was pretty young too. So yeah, what an opportunity to live so close to like Disneyland too. So, well, you guys have done 4 cruises now here in just a little over a year. Why don't you give me a background on which cruises you guys have been on so far?
We've primarily sailed out of Port Canaveral. We did a cruise in
We've done 3 out of 4 have been on the Fantasy Eastern Caribbean.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And the first 2 we didn't stop at Tortola because it was still too much damage from the hurricane. This one we did most recently in February. We did a bunch of days at the park with my son as his first trip to Disney World, and then we got on the cruise. And that one actually stopped in Tortola. And then we did the one out of San Diego in October of last year, down to Cozumel, Ensenada, and
not Cozumel, Ensenada and Cabo.
Ensenada and Cabo, yeah.
And that one was a Halloween on the High Seas because it was in October. It was in mid-October.
And I forgot to ask you this. How old is your son?
He's 5.
5. Oh, that's a perfect age.
Yeah.
So flying back to the East Coast, what's worked best for you guys as far as flying into Orlando and then getting out to Port Canaveral? Do you stay at the parks? Do you stay near the airport? Or do you go into Port Canaveral?
We've never stayed in Port Canaveral.
Yeah, never stayed in Port Canaveral. I mean, so what's nice for us is there's a direct flight from Seattle to MCO. So that's been great. When we started, we would stay at the...
Two times we've stayed at the Hyatt at the airport.
Yeah, one time we stayed with Sam's friend who lives in Orlando.
Oh, that's right.
There was twice now that we stay at the Hyatt. No, once that we stayed once at the we Hyatt. Stay at the Hyatt at MCO, which we loved because we had them do the service where they took our luggage from our room and sent it to the ship, and we used the Magic Express. The last time we stayed,
we had gone to the parks first, so we had stayed at Bay Lake Towers at the Contemporary, and so we had spent a few days at the parks, so we didn't and then we took I think we paid for like Happy Limo to take us
we had a private transfer over to Port Canaveral
because we wanted to get to Port Canaveral early, and the Magic Express from the hotels and the parks area is like much later in the day, and we wanted to be like first on the ship.
And our cruise for July, we're staying at the Beach Club the night before because we're trying to catch one of the last Illumination shows before it goes away at Epcot.
Yeah.
And trying to spend a couple hours in the park, maybe the morning before the cruise, before we head out. Since we figured normally we like to be at the port early and get on the ship first. But this time we're like, it's 11 nights, so maybe we'll spend a few hours in the park in the morning and then head out.
But we do like the MCO, the Hyatt, for getting a day room before heading back to Seattle. Because it seems like the flights, we usually take Alaska direct from Seattle to MCO and back. But when you get off the ship, you've got like an entire day almost to get before going back to Seattle because the flight's like 6 p.m. or something like that. And so we've gotten it twice. I think we've gotten a day room at the Hyatt. And that's been really nice to have kind of a landing pad, for lack of a better term, so that we can kind of, relax and just not really do anything before heading home if we're not going to, go to the parks.
That's a really good tip. We were trying to figure out what to do because we were kind of in the same boat. Our flight back to Portland didn't leave till 4 something on our last cruise. So we had a rental car and we just went over to Disney Springs and hung out. But you're right. The thought of spending hours in the airport was not appealing to us. So
Yeah,
I get enough airport time as it is. I don't need any more.
Exactly.
So, talk about the different ships that you guys have been on, the Fantasy and the Wonder. What was it like, getting on the Fantasy that first time, just the two of you, and then sharing it with your son?
Yeah, so I guess the first time we went the two of us and then some friends, because we were sort of celebrating my birthday, and I was blown away, to be honest. Like, I mean, like the ship itself was just
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's compared to the other cruises we've been on, I was legitimately blown away, and I was blown away by the whole process. Actually, I mean, that whole like receiving line that they have when you get on the ship was just like, what is this? Like, who does this? And that was just, it was so much fun. And then our friend was like instantly like, okay, I'm gonna explore every inch of this ship with you right now. Like we're
gonna do a tour. We're gonna go get our like spa appointments. We're gonna make sure that we whatever Remy and Paulo reservations we wanted to get. Like, we wanted to have both a brunch and a dinner at Paulo. And if you are pre-booking, you can only book one, I think, meal at Paulo. And so we had to get on the ship to then make that second reservation. And so we were
you can book both, but yeah. Well, and the other thing too to disclose is her friend had been on 55 Disney cruises at that point in time.
Yeah. Holy cow.
So he is an expert. Like, he knows everything.
He knows everything about all of the ships, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we were both really, I would say, really just blown away at how beautiful it was. I love that. Some of the other cruise lines, you see their ships, and their ships are like these ugly monstrosities, to be perfectly honest, from when you see them from afar. And all of the Disney ships are just beautiful. Like, I don't know what it is. They look like these old time cruise ships. They just,
They look like yachts. They look like motor yachts. I mean, they're just, yeah. So yeah, the first time we got on was amazing. I think when we got on with our son,
I think he was like overwhelmed. Like, what is this? Like, the first time when we went on with him, his first time, that was on the Wonder. And so I think that was good that was his first ship, because the Fantasy is just so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a little bit more manageable just as like a first cruise. But honestly, I actually think he enjoyed the Fantasy more. The pool, I think the pool area and the water slide kind of set up on the Fantasy was better for him than on the Wonder. And the splash pad area is much nicer on the Fantasy and much bigger. It goes to like, I think, age 8 versus the one on the Wonder is really for like the really little ones. And so that was a better experience on the Fantasy. But yeah, I think he was just kind of blown away. He loves meeting all of the characters, so that was really fun. He met Mickey, I think, actually when we were in port, right? When we were like, we went to the front of the line. We waited.
We rope dropped Mickey. Mickey picture. We were first in line.
Wow.
I think we were second in line, yeah. So he got to meet Captain Mickey like right away.
Well, we stayed at a hotel in the one out of San Diego. We stayed at a hotel right across the street from where the cruise ship docks. Like, that morning, we were having breakfast out on a kind of balcony area of the hotel, and he was just staring at, like, that's Mickey's boat, right? So
those ships are just amazing, just the classic look of them. And I think one of my favorite things to do after having been on a couple different ones is, after we come onto that line, is just to kind of step back, and after the excitement kind of wears off a little bit, and just watch the faces of some of the other families as they come on, especially some of the kids. And it's just amazing. You could kind of tell the people have been on there when it's their first time, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, having been on several different ones, what kind of cabin do you guys like to book then? What have you booked, and what kind of cabins do you like?
The first cruise we went on, we had a veranda, I think it was the Deluxe family veranda.
Yeah.
And then a friend of ours was like, we were going to sail in July, and he lives in Orlando, and he was like, you people from the Northwest are going to melt in July in Orlando and in the Caribbean. So he's like, don't throw your money away on a veranda for that cruise, because you'll never be on it. It'll be so hot. And so we ended up booking a ocean view, like a deluxe family ocean view.
It wasn't deluxe. It was just the family ocean view.
Yeah, it was one of these, like, it was up on deck 9 or 10 or something, and it had one big porthole on it. And we loved it. Like that's become kind of our favorite category of room, which is unfortunate because there's so few of them on the ships.
They're hard to get.
Yeah, but like for 11 night, we had originally booked a veranda, and one of those became available. Like I kind of will go on the site occasionally and just check, and one of them became available. I like immediately switched to it because I'm just like it was just the nice big porthole with like a little window seat, and it's like I've got this view of the ocean, but it's ungodly hot outside, so I don't have to like stand out on the balcony if I don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of become our favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if we do Alaska, which I hope we'll do someday, we'll definitely do a veranda for that, because we've heard like the views are amazing, and you really want to be able to stand outside your stateroom and see the glaciers and all that. But I think for the Caribbean, I think an ocean view stateroom is just fine. Yeah,
we've always stayed. We prefer to stay up on the higher decks as opposed to the lower decks. We love the forward decks when it's just the two of us, because we have like on the Fantasy, you just have quick access like right into the spa and the gym and the adult pool, and we're at Cove Cafe like every morning. We're wearing out that punch card for free coffee every morning up there. And so just that quick access up there is great. And then I always try to find a room on I can't remember the nautical term, but on the right side of the ship, whatever, the starboard side. Maybe.
You got it.
I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, the starboard side. Look at you. You know more than you think you know.
Yeah. Because when they back the ship in, then you have this like awesome view of Castaway Cay. Castaway Cay.
Yeah. I always remember the left has got 4 letters, and so that's the port side.
That's right.
Yes.
It takes me a little bit to remember that. So, we've only stayed in one of the porthole rooms, the ocean view rooms, but we loved it. We've stayed in the inside a couple times, and then we've had the veranda a couple times, but I really like those ocean view rooms as well. And I think you make a really good point, especially about in the Caribbean when it's hot for us Northwesterners. So,
I do want to try one of those magic porthole things one time, though.
I totally forgot about it. It was the very last day on our last cruise. We were like checking out of the room, and my youngest son looked down the hallway, and he's like, "Hey, is that one of those magic portholes?" And so we went down and took a look at it. I had totally forgot about those rooms. They look pretty amazing.
Yeah. I feel like one day I want to try that.
Yeah.
You can go to the Star Wars Galaxy Edge Hotel and see it. That's basically what they're going to be doing.
Exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit about your dining experiences. What have been some of your favorite restaurants? And we heard that great story that you talked about when your son accidentally spilled the wine bucket. But before we do that, I guess I want to throw that out there. It's funny because we plan all these things about cruising and our vacations. We have these expectations that this is going to be cool or this is going to be great. And sometimes it's just those little moments like that maybe it wasn't like a totally magical moment as far as, seeing your son spill that, but you appreciate it afterwards, and it becomes a moment that really hits you and means something more to you that you didn't really expect.
Yeah. We've had many of those kinds of moments, both, funny and also sort of, I think, touching, like when we've been on the cruises. Like the funny moment I think of, the reason we fell in love with the waiter that we have right now is one time we're cruising, just the two of us, and there was another couple sitting next to us. Like we had our own table, they had their own table. We started talking to them and getting to know them. And we had the same waiter and assistant waiter, and the assistant waiter was constantly coming by our table to bring us like little puzzles or do little magic tricks or something, and to entertain me and the other husband. And we're playing with these things and having a good time. And our head waiter Pete walks over. He's a pretty nonchalant, cool character kind of guy. And I just said, "Pete, man, you got to up your game because Alex over there is doing magic." And Pete leaned in and said, "Well, I'm going to do a little magic." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Oh yeah, at the end of the week, I'm gonna make you all disappear." And I was just like, "You are my speed. Like I like you. Like we're coming back and we're getting you." And he's like, "Request me."
Yeah.
So we've had a ton of those, and then with our son, like some of the character, like the most magical moment I think we had with him was on our last cruise. We did a Star Wars Day at Sea cruise, and we were
this is awesome.
We were in line to meet Chewbacca, and we were like the last people in line, and standing in line forever. Son's kind of getting impatient.
Wait, one quick second. Spoiler alert. Our son knows that like Mickey and all the other like normal Disney characters are people in costumes.
Yes, he does not believe that they're real. He had a little moment where he thought they were real, and then he was like, "Why are there multiple Mickeys? And how can Mickey be driving the ship and be at the park?" But we're standing in line for Chewbacca, And our son just stops and he looks at us and he says, "Mommy, Daddy, Chewbacca is real." And we were like, "What do you mean he's real, buddy?" He's like, "His eyes are blinking and he makes the noise just like Chewbacca does in the movie." And we were like, "Oh yeah, he's totally real. Totally real." Like, he walked up and gave Chewbacca just this big hug. And like, I mean, he firmly believed that Chewbacca was real. He believed that C-3PO was real. He believed that R2-D2 was real. And I was just
like, because nobody has legs like R2-D2 and nobody's that small to be inside that, you know, a costume like that. Yeah. R2-D2 was, you know, making noises and rolling around, and yeah, it was really cool. And C-3PO who was obviously a person in the costume, but they had like obviously a automated voice or whatnot. So C-3PO was talking like C-3PO. So yeah, he's totally convinced that the droids are real and Chewbacca is real. And that was an awesome couple of moments, one right after the other, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, what a magical moment. Well, I'm glad you guys were in line for Chewbacca, not Kylo Ren, then. So.
I've heard that he will scare everyone. So.
Yeah, well, and they didn't have a Kylo Ren meet and greet, I don't think, but they had a Darth Vader, and we had tickets for it, but our son was like, "I don't want to meet Darth Vader," so we did not go meet Darth Vader.
Yeah, my youngest is a huge Star Wars fan, and we went and met Darth Vader down at Disneyland. And I think I've said this before, but I was nervous going in to meet him because it's like that room and you hear the voice and him breathing, and it's like, wow, it's pretty realistic. So
yeah.
Well, let's talk about just a little bit about the dining. What would have been some of your favorite restaurants and experiences there?
To start with the main dining rooms. We love Animator's Palette.
Good point there with the main dining rooms. Then we'll talk a little bit about Paolo and Remy.
Yeah, we both love Animator's Palette. And I don't know, like, if...
Truffle Persets.
Well, Truffle Persets
Bring
are
me
highlighted.
all the Truffle Persets. That's like when it's Truffle Perset night and we've got Pete. Like, Pete just brings out multiple orders of Truffle Persets.
Oh, yeah. And then there's my favorite dessert, which I can't remember which... It was the sticky date pudding or something. I can't remember what it's called. Something like that.
I would say
it's this awesome dessert.
I think our favorite one is Animator's Palette, although I would actually say my favorite restaurant that we've, on any of the ships we've been on, was Tiana's Place on the Wonder. I thought that, so like just a side note is that my family has a house in New Orleans and for years have gone to Mardi Gras with my father, and we ride in a Mardi Gras parade. And so I was sort of super skeptical of being able to recreate kind of a New Orleans vibe like that. And then we went in there and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is, I mean, it's not New Orleans. It's, you know, it's
Disney vibe.
It's Disney New Orleans, but it is so much fun. And the food was actually some of the most, I'd say, adventurous food we saw in main dining on the cruise. And so that, I love that. I love that place. And our son got up and marched in the parade
in the
around
second
the room.
line. Yeah,
he had a blast that night. So yeah, I actually really I thought Tiana's on the Wonder, but if we're on the Fantasy, I agree. Animator's Palette is
Well, I just love the whole Crush thing, the whole interactive Crush thing, and I love
another spoiler alert there.
Yeah, and I love another spoiler alert. I love the animation magic. That is really fun. The one kind of meal that we like to skip no matter which ship we're on is the Pirate Night meal. We're just not real big fans of that menu.
It's the one place I feel like, that's the one place where I feel like Disney just doesn't, like, I feel like on even like Halloween on the High Seas, Pirate Night, Star Wars Night, there's just not enough to like, it's like decorating the ship and characters, but there's not like
enough tie-in with the food.
Yeah, like with the food, it seems like it's an opportunity missed to do something kind of fun with the
they
food.
Change the names, like they give it, like particularly for Star Wars, they do like the names for the dishes, but they don't really.
Where's the blue milk? Like, you know, like
yeah. Or why doesn't my plate, like, why don't they arrange the food to look like a stormtraooper's face or something, right? Like, just, you know, some kind of fun touches that they could do. I can't imagine that they could do it with every meal because they have to feed so many people. But I think that they could do a little bit more with the theming.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I mean, especially when you see what they do in Tiana's, and
exactly.
So, although they're kind of doing that night after night, so I get maybe a little bit of the logistics behind it, but I love the music at Tiana's place. That's my kind of music too. So you're right, that's just a kind of a fun party atmosphere at that restaurant. Well, what about Paolo and Remy then? Have you guys been to both, or what are your thoughts?
Yes,
both for every meal possible. So like we've. I think my ranking, which might differ from Sam, so like we're both, I think, number one Palo brunch. Like we
Yeah.
love Palo Brunch, and if I could just like bathe in those sticky buns that they have on their buffet, I go there just like that, the lasagna, the chicken
The
parm.
chicken parm. Oh my god.
Like I hear people occasionally that are like, "Oh, I got the breakfast dishes and was disappointed." Like, why are you in an Italian restaurant ordering eggs Benedict? Like, get the chicken parm. It's so good. So we love Palo Brunch. We booked that on our 11-night cruise coming up in July. We were super worried we wouldn't be able to book Palo Brunch because we're like still lowly silver Castaway Key members or Castaway Club members, and her friend, the one that we've been talking about, has actually decided to join us on that cruise, and so we're like we're putting him up in our stateroom while he's like platinum, and we're like running around like Charlie getting his golden ticket, like we get our Palo Brunch now, and so Palo Brunch is number one. I think Remy dinner is number two for us on the list. Like, so on my 40th birthday cruise, there were 6 of us, and our friend talked them into letting us have dinner in like the wine cave area that they have in Remy. And so we had this like special table in Remy, and like the food
wine
was
pairings,
just amazing. The service, every server we've had in Remy has just been beyond awesome.
They're just it is. I mean, Palo is wonderful, and we love the food at brunch. And I think that's why we love it, because it's like, and the buffet is really awesome too. But like, as far as fine dining goes, like Remy dinner just ranks as probably one of the best meals we've ever
but
had.
I will never do the full wine pairings again. I've done it twice now, and every time I'm like, this is too much. This is too much. I like the ship is moving, and so am I. Like, how is that possible? But but I will say, like, we see people all the time who are like, oh, you must dine, must go to Remy, and I do think it's one of those things where it's like you have to be into fine dining to enjoy Remy. It's not, you have to be adventurous.
It's
like,
just you have to be willing to, because you completely with Remy, you're choosing either the American menu or the French menu or some combination thereof, but there's not, it's really, a fixed tasting kind of menu. And so you have to really give yourself over to the chef and let them just kind of wow you. And so you have to be willing to try things you might not otherwise eat.
Yeah. And then I think it's we've done Palo dinner.
Yes, which is really good.
And
but
in fact,
if you're
looking for if you're looking for a nice dinner that's not that like venturous eating, like Palo is definitely the way to go.
Yes, but I would say I'm from New York, and so Italian food aplenty growing up. And so while Palo dinner is good, many casual Italian restaurants, if you're in New York, are just as good. So that's the one caveat I would give for Palo dinner. It's nice because of the atmosphere, and the service is really wonderful. But I'd say Palo dinner food is just on par with like good Italian food in New York.
Yeah, and then we've done Remy brunch. We did it once, and we're going to do it again in July, I think. And that one's fun because it's champagne.
Different.
It's champagne, like it's just as much champagne as one could possibly want, paired with some really nice food. But again, it's like it's more adventurous food than your typical kind of it's breakfast foods. Like there was a lot of molecular gastronomy going on with that breakfast. So so like we love it all, and we've done it all. I would say that on like we're going on an 11-night cruise, we'll do all 4.
Right.
I think we've come to the realization we're on a 7-night cruise, we'll probably really laser in on like one brunch, one dinner, like because we also don't want to miss out on some of the fun in the main dining rotation.
Plus it's just like it's so much food. And there's so much food everywhere on the ship. At some point, you're like, I just can't eat anymore, right? So I think that becomes an issue about halfway into the cruise.
Yeah, that's kind of where we've come to. Well, we haven't been to Remy since we've only been on the Fantasy once. We did Palo, but for my wife and I, just doing it once is kind of enough. Like you said, it's kind of a food coma by the end of the week. But so you guys sound like you're pretty big foodies, huh?
We are.
So I'm going to have a little spoiler alert, but I did not know about this that you could do, but a good friend of ours from the show, Frank, is going to come on here in a couple weeks, and he just got off the Fantasy, and he did Palo Be Our Chef, and I think
we've heard of it.
Have you heard of that?
Trying to do
Sam wants to do it. Apparently, it sells out to the concierge guests.
People.
Like So like actually for
there's
her,
only like 8 spots on the whole cruise.
we're doing in January of next year. We both signed up to do the Run Disney event in Orlando.
Nice.
I'm doing the marathon, and Sam's doing the 10K. And there's a cruise that you can couple with the Run Disney event to do the Castaway Cay challenge.
Right.
And I'm like, I want a legit medal out of Castaway Cay, not this rubber thing that they hand out at the 5K that I've gotten. And so like, we're going on that cruise. And so we just booked, so that'll be our first time on the Dream. But I booked us into a concierge room on the Dream. And I'm specifically like, I think
I didn't know that.
So, spoiler. So I booked us into a concierge room, so it'll be our first time in concierge. But I was like, at the same time, like, Sam will finally maybe be able to
Be our chef.
I don't know if they'll offer it on a cruise that short, but yeah.
If they do, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'm looking at Frank's.
Even if it means I have to miss a port.
Well, stay tuned. Next time Frank's on, we're going to do a show, and he'll talk about it so you can learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his picture right now. They give you an outfit, and you get to keep it, too, it says.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so kind of a cool
That's the one thing with Remy that I'm always hammering them like on a little bit. And like, I really think that's another place where they have some nice touches, and it's fine dining, so it's hard to do. But I feel like there were some little things the Imagineers could have done to really bring the movie to life in that restaurant a little bit more.
Well, like they could put like a chef's hat on the chef and put like a little light with the shadow of Remy, right?
Yeah.
Like a couple of fun things that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, have you guys ever done the Art of the Theme show tour by any chance?
We haven't.
We're doing that. We're doing it
July.
every time we've tried to do it. We have like something else booked at the time that they're going to do it, and we can't move whatever it is we had booked. And so we're like, we want to do this. So in July, we're like, I don't care. We're doing this thing.
We're figuring.
We're going to find out when they're doing it, and then we're not booking around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite things to do. I did it on this last one, and there's a lot. There's 80 pages, I guess, that they can. So you're only going to get a kind of a small touch of it, but
wow.
Yeah. But I mean, your friend's showing you a lot of stuff around there too. But yeah, they talked about Remy a little bit, and I don't know if you know that picture of Remy as you walk up.
Yes, in the shadow.
In the shadow with Walt and Mickey. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. So how about with your son with the kids club? Let's talk about that a little bit. Has he enjoyed it? Have you guys used it very much, or any thoughts on that?
So full disclosure, our son is sort of a little bit of a special needs kid and has had some behavior challenges, and so we were skeptical about how he'd do in the kids club. And I'd say on the October cruise, the 5-night cruise we did on the Wonder, he kind of struggled with it a little bit. He would go in for he went in for maybe like 15 minutes the first time, and we were getting like your son like to be picked up now kind of thing. And we're like, all right. So on that cruise, we ended up like,
I think twice he went in for
a couple hours.
Yeah.
Once he made a friend, he was much more likely to go in and stay.
But I think he gets overwhelmed by kind of the noise and the crowds, and so I think it's great for like 90% of the kids, but I think our son has a little bit of a challenge with the kids club.
Yeah, but they're really good with him, and
they're wonderful. The service is really wonderful,
and he does go
counselors
in. Like the last cruise we did, we actually Sam's mom came with us, and we wanted to have brunch, and so we were like, grandma's on standby to go get him out of the kids club just in case. And we ended up having brunch. He was in there for like 2.5 hours and had a great time. And he actually would say he wanted to go back and do things, but he's not the kind of kid who goes in and stays there for like half the day. Like he's definitely in for a little while and then out. And on the Wonder, we actually loved, there was like a table up on deck where you could like get this table, and it was under an overhang and it looked right onto the funnel vision. And we would just park ourselves there all day with him, and he would sit there, and it was how we introduced him to new Disney movies that he hadn't seen before, because he was watching like the same movie, like Cars, over and over and over again. I'm like, well, let's watch Lilo and Stitch, let's watch Moana, like let's watch all the and
he liked going. He's not a swimmer, but he likes sitting in the hot tubs.
The hot tubs, and it was the splash pad.
Yeah, and those on the Wonder, the hot tubs are like they're in the family area. There are 2 hot tubs, so kids can go in them. On the Fantasy, there isn't. There used to be a hot tub, but there isn't anymore in the family pool area. So, but on the Fantasy, he really had a great time in Nemo's Reef, the smaller kid splash area. Whereas on the Wonder, the Nemo's Reef that's there skews much younger. So that was and is a lot smaller.
But on the Fantasy, even when he wasn't in the kids club, he was running around the pool area with friends. Like he was like 1,000 times down the kid water slide.
The yellow one, the Mickey one.
Right.
Yeah,
and I finally convinced him to go on the Aqueduct, and he loved it. There's no way we were getting him to go down the slide on the Wonder. It was just too much. It was just too much for him.
Yeah, because that slide is kind of an in between the Aqueduct and the Mickey slide or whatever it's called, but it doesn't have a tube that you sit in. And I think that was a little intense for me. So I think it would have been, and he's not a swimmer, so that would have been intense for him.
Yeah.
But he loves the Mickey slide. So we're excited about taking him on the Dream, which has a similar pool, I think the same pool layout as on the Fantasy.
So we love the kids clubs because we want those hand washing stations in our house.
Oh, that's amazing, aren't they?
Oh yeah, every time even when we're not sailing with our son, we go there to just wash our hands when it's open house time.
Yeah,
because it's so cool.
I wish they put them in cabanas, too.
Oh, yes.
For us adults, right?
Totally.
Yes.
And it would maybe force some people to wash their hands. So
that too.
That technology needs to be made available to the home market. It's amazing. I want it right now.
Yeah, the bigger ships are just a little bit nicer. Well, I shouldn't say they're a little bit nicer. They just have more, because they're bigger. They've been able to add more stuff to it. It really makes me excited for the new ones when they come out to see what they're going to add to those. Because, like you said, with your son, there's just more. There's more things to do out on those pool decks for them, and more little areas for them to spend time in. So, and I know Christy said that about her son too. There's a couple different little splash pads when he was younger that just worked out perfect for him. So
and we're big fans of when it's just us, we love the adult.
Oh areas. We love Satellite Falls.
Yeah.
But I do like the Fantasy for him also because of the Midship Detective Agency.
Oh yeah. Which one did he like the best, or which one does he like the best?
Well, we did all three of them.
Okay.
He liked all. I don't think we finished
the Muppets.
No, I think it was the Mickey one that we didn't finish just because we didn't like. Yeah. It was, it's kind of exhausting going all around the ship with the 5-year-old. Mm-hmm. But I would say he probably liked the Muppets one the best because he liked going to Pepe's door. So that, that's always really fun because he was kept trying to open the door. And so I had to explain it so, it doesn't open. Yeah, no, I think he just enjoyed that whole thing. Once we, I think it was about halfway through the cruise that we introduced him to it. And on the Fantasy, and then he was like, I want to go back and do that game. He thought it was so cool. Yeah. And it is. I had done it our first time cruising, which was without him. I did all three of the Midship Detective Agencies on the Fantasy because I wanted to. I just thought it was really fun.
This is why we like cruising, because it's like the perfect blend of our vacation styles. Like Sam is off
I want to do everything.
Activities, bingo, Midship Detective Agency,
I have to see every show.
Everything. And I'm like, I will be at Satellite Falls between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Until it's ready to get ready for dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other things that when you guys, are thinking about, this next cruise, what are some of the onboard things that you guys are excited about getting back and experiencing?
Drinks at Meridian.
Okay.
Oh, drinks at Meridian. I actually would say drinks at Meridian, drinks at Skyline. I love whatever that Paris 75. Oh, so good. Yeah. I love the since it's just the two of us. Like, I'm really looking forward to being able to use the adult areas of the ship again. We didn't get to do much of the nightlife on the last cruise. And
the last two, yeah.
We love going to Match Your Mate and the just the late night stuff that goes on in the tube on the Fantasy. And we're actually because this is our first cruise not in the Eastern Caribbean, I think we're pretty excited about some of the port adventures that we booked, even though some of them were beach days, and we're it's just fun to see new places. So yeah, but on the ship, I'd say, most excited to get back into some of the adult areas. Yeah.
And Palo Brunch.
Palo Brunch.
I was so freaked out about not being able to get a Palo Brunch that this woman or our cruise group was like, if you don't get one, I will bring you the sticky buns.
Which is funny because they're actually you can get a sticky that they usually have those in cabanas, but 1 or 2 days they'll have You have to go looking for them, but they'll have a tray of the sticky buns, and they're the same sticky buns.
Now, I know they have the antipasta up in the Cove Cafe. Do they ever have any of that stuff like that for like breakfast, by any chance? I don't know. They do have some different things up there at breakfast time sometimes, but
yeah, they have pastries and such. I haven't seen the sticky. I did see like cinnamon rolls one day, but they weren't the
same ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what makes those Palo sticky buns is that caramel sauce that they dump all over top of it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the ports then. What have been some of your favorite port excursions that you guys have done, or some of your favorite ports just themselves?
So I think hands down our favorite one in the Eastern Caribbean has been Megan's Bay Beach. We always book our port excursions through Disney. I've tinkered a few times with trying to do something outside of Disney, or just grab a cab someplace. Actually, we did do in Tortola. We kind of grabbed a cab, but it was just to go to a restaurant. But I'm always super scared that like I'm going to be that person on YouTube waving to the boat as it leaves. And so we've always booked through Disney. But like I think the next time we go, I might just grab a cab to Megan's Bay. So we can stay a little longer and get there a little earlier. But it's just like, it's the most amazing, like the water and everything. It's just, I haven't seen a beach that beautiful in a lot of places.
The other one would be in Cabo. We did a dolphin excursion. It was the dolphin encounter, not the swim with dolphins, which they're both at the same place. But it was just really awesome. You get to like dance with the dolphin. You get to get a dolphin, like you get to like pet the dolphin, and like then they give you a kiss, and they'll give you like video and pictures, of course, as an add-on. But that was a really fun excursion.
Which port was it that we did? Was it St. Martin that we did the zip line?
Yes, we did. And one of the times one of the first 2 cruises that we went on where we were in St. Martin instead of Tortola, they had a zip line adventure.
I know. So we did the zipline adventure, and I was super excited to do it, and Sam was like super scared to do it. And then we did it, and we got to the bottom, and she's like, I could do that again. And so we went all the way back up to the top and came back down. But then
second time
you injured yourself
I got
the second
hurt,
time down.
So.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah,
it was still fun, but my knee hit the line.
Yeah. But that was actually a lot of fun. And then on I was going to say 2 things. One is, the other thing is, like, now that we've been to the Eastern Caribbean a bunch, like, sometimes we're not shy about, like, let's just stay on board, right? I mean, like, the ship is empty and we can sit by the pool and it's, like, no big deal. Another great time to hit the spa, because there's usually deals on the port days. I mean, our favorite destination is Castaway Cay, by far. And we actually, on my birthday, so it was unfair because on our very first cruise, our friend scored a cabana at Castaway Cay. Like, he was like, oh my God, this never happens. They actually have a cabana available at Platinum Booking. Like, I'm taking it. Like, and so he booked it and we got it. And the 6 of us went and we were like, this is the life.
Yeah.
Right? And so now every
and it
cruise
was in Serenity Bay.
Yeah.
It was a cabana in Serenity Bay, which is like, I think, sort of the creme de la creme of a cabana. Of Castaway Cay in general, right? Not to say that there's anything wrong with the family beaches. We love the family beaches, but it's
and I don't think you need
amazing.
A cabana to have fun. Like, I get it.
Sure.
But like, every time I'm booking shore excursions now in Castaway Cay, I'm like, oh, is there a cabana available? I check it. Like, I checked, like, there are 11-night cruise coming up. I'm like checking the site every day just in case. In case.
There's no way it's going to happen,
no way,
but
yeah.
We'll have fun anyway.
Yeah, maybe look about that time when the final payments due. Sometimes things like that pop up around then. So
yeah.
Good luck.
Our friend is back working at Disney, and we're just kind of like, who do you bribe at what desk to look at this happen?
Well, you guys started at the top. It's hard to go back down. It
is.
It's like getting that balcony cabin the first time or whatnot. So, have you run the 5K?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. I enjoy it.
It's fun. It's a little hot for us.
Hot. Yeah, it was very hot.
Yeah.
We ran at the time that we had the cabana. So it's like, I got done with it and I walked over. I'm like, oh, there's a shower here. Amazing.
Yeah. That's perfect. Anything else that you guys like to do at Castaway Cay then? Besides the cabana, which is amazing.
Yeah. I have signed up now a couple of times to do an excursion, and it seems like every time we show up, all the excursions are canceled. So
because of wind.
Yeah.
I actually signed up again this time to do parasailing because I really want to do it. And so I was just like, I'm just going to sign up and hopefully it'll happen this time. But it seems like they're always canceled.
We did the Stingray excursion this last time at Castaway Cay.
Which is cool to do once, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll be honest, I did it. I fed the stingray once, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to be swimming around with these stingrays.
That's enough.
and our son would not get in the water at all. So that was a little bit of a waste for us. Not because, I mean, it's a really cool excursion, I think, for people with older kids and people who aren't scared of stingrays. I think it's a really cool experience, but it wasn't really a good fit for me or our son.
And I like, for lunch, I love the barbecue that's out at Serenity Bay. They just have a little bit different food than what's in Cookies and Cookies 2. And so that's just like, I love going over there. I love if I can get even like an hour on the beach over there, because it's just empty. Like you can just put a chair in the water and sit and read a book and literally have most of the beach to yourself. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah.
I just love it because it's like you don't have to worry about finding a chair. Not just, I mean, at Serenity Bay, even at the family beaches, like there's just, because it's just your ship, or I guess there's times where there's two ships, but every time that we've been there, it's just been our ship.
I don't think they ever have two ships.
Well, anyway, it's just, you always can find, even if you're on the Fantasy, which, the bigger ship, like you can always find an umbrella and a lounge chair. And
I just hope that whatever, I know they're building that new, whatever, Castaway Cay,
Lighthouse Island or whatever it's called.
Right. Yeah. I just hope that whoever's doing that is like taking a hint and adding more cabanas.
Lighthouse Point. Yeah.
Lighthouse Point. That's
it. I've got high expectations for them. I think they're going to do a great job. So like people are, it just seems generally, as far as Disney goes, everybody has this trepidation. Oh, it's going to be something new. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be good enough? And they usually knock it out of the park. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
like
go
Toy Story Land.
Yeah, I'm gonna go glass half full. I think they'll do a really good job. So, well, thinking about your 11-night cruise coming up, you talked about like some of the different ports. Which port are you guys excited about going to visit and see?
I think I'm really excited about all of them. So like.
We're doing which one are we doing the zip lining in? We're doing one of these canopy zip line tours in, is that St. Kitts?
Maybe it's either St. Kitts or Fort-de-France.
Yeah. There's one of these canopy zip line tours that we're doing that looks like a really fun excursion. In Aruba, we're doing the De Palm Island excursion.
With a cabana.
With a cabana.
On that one.
Yeah, we scored a cabana on that one. That one looks really fun. It's like one of these all-inclusive kind of resort things. And
I'm most excited for, in Fort-de-France we're doing that. So there was so on the 11-night cruise, like a lot of the excursions were booking up even at the platinum booking window, and then the gold window, like things were really going. And I think Disney must have heard enough feedback that they started to open some more excursions. So there was an excursion in Martinique that we really wanted to do that they weren't initially offering, and now they are. And it's one of the first ones I've seen where it is an all day, like you pull into port and it's all day.
And it's a catamaran.
Yeah,
right?
you're getting on a catamaran. They're taking you up to this one portion of the island to see kind of like this volcanic rock area, and then to like a little local market, and then you have lunch, and then you get a beach day, and then the catamaran brings you right back to the dock, but you're gone like for 7 hours. And I was just like, that just sounds amazing to be able to like get off the ship and like go see all of this stuff.
Yeah, because a lot of the catamaran ones are like, they take you someplace to snorkel, but you have like an hour trip on the boat. Then you only get like 45 minutes or an hour to snorkel. And then you have like another hour trip on the boat back. And so you're done in like 4 hours, but you only really got like an hour of snorkeling time.
I read the descriptions very carefully. I avoid anything that has a bus ride of like 45 minutes or like 30 minutes or longer. I'm skeptical. 45 minutes or longer, I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. And then catamaran snorkeling, I'm always like, how long are we going to be on this in total? If it's like 4 hours, it tells me you're going to give me like a half hour to 45 minutes of actual time in the water usually. And that's like, I'd rather just go spend 3 hours at a beach, Mm-hmm. And so that one I'm excited about. I'm also excited about in San Juan. I know you and her friend are going to just get off San Juan and kind of wander around, but I'm doing like body cave rafting or something crazy. And I was just like, I read the description for this thing and I was like, where else would you do this? Right? I mean, like, I've never heard of this before. I mean, it'd be like if somebody was like, well, we're going to launch you in outer space. Okay. Like, I don't know that that's like a short excursion. I'm going to find too many places. So.
Whereas I'm excited actually just to walk around Old Town San Juan. I'm not doing any tour or excursion because I've heard from people who've been to San Juan before that the ship docks like right near the old part of the city, and so it's totally walkable to just go and tour it yourself. And there's like the big fort that's there, that's a part of the national park, and so it seems like it's something that you can do on your own without paying for a shore excursion. And then I have a friend of mine at work who is from Puerto Rico and came to the Seattle area after the hurricane. And he gave me a restaurant and bar recommendation too. So, so I got a local recommendations as well. So I think I'm excited about that as well.
Yeah, that sounds just perfect. Yeah, I've heard Old San Juan. I went there a long time ago, so I don't remember it too much, but it's just a beautiful downtown area. So, and like you said, the ship's right there, so it's easy to walk over to with the forts and whatnot. So it sounds like a perfect day.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, Sam, I love your guys' enthusiasm.
We're all in Disney.
Yeah, no, I think you guys sound just like our family, and it's been super fun talking to you tonight and kind of sharing in your experiences over the several cruises you've done so quickly. And I really tip my hat for you for doing that. I wish we could be jumping on those cruises as fast as you have. Thinking back on it, is there anything that we've missed tonight that you guys wanted to talk about?
You know, my favorite thing on board the Disney ships, Sam's going to make fun of me. Like, what's my favorite thing? You know my favorite thing on board the Disney ships. The horn. The horn.
Oh, we love the horn.
Oh, the horn. I wish they would play it more. We went on one cruise one time, and I was sad at the end because I'm like, man, the captain this time around did not play that horn.
That was when we were on the Magic. Yeah.
I love to be
the Wonder.
I love to be up on deck when the ship is pulling out of port and they're playing that horn. And I'm sure that the locals who live in these places are like, oh, there goes that Disney ship again. I would be like, if I lived in this place, I'd be like, oh, the Disney ship is leaving. I hope they come back soon.
How about you, Sam?
It's so hard because there's so many fun things. I love seeing Mickey. I know that sounds so cheesy, but actually one of the best things was on our last cruise, they did one of those meet and greets where you could see Mickey and Minnie at the same time.
Oh.
And yeah, because of the birthday celebration.
Okay.
So it wasn't because of the birthday celebration, it was because Valentine's Day. It was on Valentine's Day. That's right. And Brian had already gone back to the room with our son, and I was just walking around the ship. And I got in line. It was like 10 o'clock at night. And I got in line and got my picture taken with Mickey and Minnie at the same time. And that was just a really cool moment.
That's, I'm actually on our cruise. I'm really looking forward to. They're doing that Mickey's
birthday surprise
party. There was a question mark whether they were going to do it on the 11th night. It wasn't originally slated. I think enough people complained that they were like, okay, we have to do this thing. So they've put on. I'm really kind of excited to see that deck party.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions, I guess, before we finish up then. Yeah. If you guys had a choice to send your Disney ship anywhere, where would you guys cruise? Where would you like to see them cruise? We talked about Alaska. Where else would you guys like to go? What else would you guys like to do?
We both want to do Norway.
Oh, no, but if they could go anywhere.
Oh, anywhere.
Okay, well, let's do it that way. How about now? Where would you go? And then if you could go anywhere, where would you send it?
You want to go to?
I want to go to Norway, but I also kind of want to do a transatlantic. So it's kind of a toss-up between a transatlantic and doing Norway.
I want to do that. Like, I don't know that they're going to do it again, but there was that Canadian itinerary they did out of New York.
Yes, to Quebec City.
Yeah, yes. It just sounded like the ports were cool. And like I remember listening. I think it was to your show, and there was somebody on from it. Maybe. Yes, and he was talking about how like we pull into port and like it was like the whole town had like taken the day off and like it was a town holiday and they were there to meet the Disney ship. I'm like, that'd be kind of really cool to see. So yeah, I would love to have done that.
But anywhere, if we could make a Disney ship go anywhere,
New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd say New Zealand and Australia because we want to go there anyway, and I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I really hope they come back and do the Canadian one again. I don't think that they had enough traction with it. It seemed like they were doing a travel agent. Or to me, when they send all the travel agents on it, then you got to kind of wonder.
Yeah. They need to do it when the weather is like warm. Like they need to do it in the summertime. I think that's.
Well, they did it at the end of it was after the transatlantic crossing, so it would have been in like September.
Yeah, I think they do it. They do those for the leaves. I think a lot of the time, to try and kind of get that fall feel, I guess. But
yeah. See, and I would want to do that like in maybe like August. I don't think I would want to do it in in the fall. I'd want to do it in the summer, so you can still have like the pool time, and you can still have a warm weather kind of a cruise.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope that when you guys get back from that 11-day cruise this summer, well, first of all, just have a great time. I hope you have just a great time. Enjoy it.
We plan on it.
Yeah, and when you guys get back, give us a shout, and I would love to have you come back on. We don't get a lot of people talking about those 11 days, especially down to the Southern Caribbean. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you guys thought about it.
All right, we'll
Sounds
do.
Good.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, well, thanks for coming on. We will talk to you guys soon. Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Sam and Brian for coming on and sharing their families' amazing experiences as they've been on just so many cruises over this past year and a half, and just sharing their overall experiences and favorite things that they've gotten to do on all the different ships that they've cruised on. And believe it or not, they're just a month away from that amazing 11-day sailing down to the Southern Caribbean, and we look forward to having them back on and finding out all about those different ports of call, which I know a lot of us would love to make it down to someday. And Christy herself is on her way. She's down at Walt Disney World and getting ready to board the Dream here in a couple days for their double dip down to Castaway Cay. So look for her if you're over in Castaway Cay in the next couple days. Her and her family will have their feet in the sand and in the ocean and just enjoying themselves with everything that there is to do in Castaway Cay. So I know a lot of you are out there cruising. It's summertime. We've got a lot of listeners I know heading to Alaska, heading over to Europe, out to the Caribbean. Christy and I just want to wish you all the best as you continue traveling all throughout this summer. And even if you're not cruising, wherever you may be going to spend that quality family time, I hope all of you get that chance to just really relax, enjoy this summer, and really spend some quality time with your family and friends. So all of us here at the DCL Podcast just want to wish you all the best as the summer months continue. If you'd like to get a hold of Christy and I between now and our next show, you can always reach us over at Facebook at DCL Podcast. Of course, you can find Christy at packyourpixiedust.com on Facebook, PackYRPixieDust on Twitter, and Christy at packyourpixiedust.com for email. For Steve, you can find me at steve@dclpodcast.com, and you can find me also on Twitter at DCL Podcast. So between now and our next show, if you are heading out on your next adventure, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on that next vacation. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.